And you're welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It is still iBrand Daybreak. The President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has forwarded an additional 19 names of ministerial nominees. The Chief of Staff and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, presented the new batch of lists to the Senate. The nominees are Ahmed Tijani Kwazo, Bosun Tijani, Isiak Salako, Tunji Alausa, Yusuf Tanko Sunumu, Adeboyega Oyetola, Atiku Bagudu, Bello Matawale, Ibrahim Gaidam, Simon Lalong, Lola Adejon. Others are Miriam Shetty, Prince Shuaibu, Abubakar Audu, Taye Maman, Senator Sabi, Abdullahi, Senator Alkali Ahmed Seidu, Senator Heineken Lokobri, Uba Meigari Amadu, and Zephaniah Beatrice Gisalo. To talk about this conversation with us this morning is Mr. Matthew Oluku. Good morning, sir. You're welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. 19 new names, fresh list submitted to the Senate. And I just reeled out, the names that made the list. How do you react to this second batch of nominees?
First of all, let me start saying that the president had the prerogative right to decide who to appoint. So it's not about whether they are competent or not. But from what I can see, I think contrary to the impression of Nigerians and the speculation we have been hearing that the president may likely appoint technocrats, it seems to be what we are seeing seems to be contrary to that. Because what we are seeing is a clear direction of the government or Mr. President trying to accommodate his political associates. Because ordinarily, I don't understand why a government that seeks to perform would just want to dominate the cabinet with governors. But let me quickly tell you that why I'm not particularly comfortable with governors is because the way and manner they manages their joint account with local government, so it gives me a sense of that any person that serves as governor in Nigeria may not be a good manager of public funds. Because the way and manner, without exception, whether PDP, APC, any other political party for that matter, there have been issue of mismanaging of local government funds. So to that extent, given the former governor's ministerial position, I wonder what is their ideology in terms of management of public funds. But in terms of whether somebody is competent or not, I think that is left to Mr. President because it's a prerogative right he has. Nobody can decide for him who to appoint. But I think there are some former governors that we have seen have performed well in terms of infrastructure development, irrespective of the fact that I may have some reserve when it comes to their approach to politics. Those ones may be in the first batch, but for what I'm seeing, I have not seen any of the current members of any of the current governors in this current list to have performed well as a governor. Because I can understand that Umahi of Ebonyi State performed well in terms of infrastructure development. I may not like his style of politics. Someone like Wiki, I don't like his style of politics. He performed well in terms of infrastructure development. But looking at the lives of former governor of Osun State, the lives of former governor of Plateau State, the lives of former governor of Zamfara State, I think Kebbi State, there is not on record that they did well in terms of infrastructure development and any other area of engagement with the people while they held sway in their respective states. But I think what we are seeing is a clear testimony that the government want to pacify his political associates. When I saw someone like Lalong, I'm not surprised because I understand that at the time Nigerians were yearning for balance of the ticket. The Presidential Campaign Council of APC hurriedly made him the chairman of the Presidential Campaign Council. So it's understandable that they will want to accommodate him in the cabinet. But holistically speaking, I will tell you that I'm not comfortable with the list.
All right, talk to us about the fact that the Senate had the statutory right to screen nominees. What can you say about that?
The fact is that is their right as entrenched in the Constitution, but we are still in a worrying situation. A situation where you have the nominees come into the Hallowed Chamber, the next thing you hear is bow, I take a bow and go. By my understanding, the essence of the screening is to bring out the competence in these nominees. And that would have even afforded Mr. President an opportunity of doing a thorough appraisal of the nominees to know their area of competence, so that when he starts apportioning portfolio, he will know where they can fit in. But the situation where a good number of them will walk into the chamber, Hallowed Chamber, and they will be asked to take a bow and go. I understand that has been a tradition with respect to former senators and former House of Rep members as a form of respect to their former colleagues. But even at that, I'm not comfortable with that rule. I think there is every need for us to prevent or Senate to change that rule. And apart from former rep members and former senators, we have seen this current screening exercise where even some people who are not some nominees, who are not former senators, neither were they former House of Rep members, we are given the privilege to say take a bow and go. For me, it is not yielding the necessary results. Because if you do a thorough and in-depth screening, one, Nigerians will know the type of people, the personalities who will be piloting the affairs of the country for the next 4 years, whether they are competent or not. Like I rightly said, that would have even helped Mr. President to guide Mr. President on the area of competence of each and every one of them. Don't forget that the Chief of Staff to Mr. President, the first of Badabiamela, can say that the reason Mr. President did not assign portfolio to the nominees is because Mr. President may change his mind, that he may do an appraisal and discover that the information they have about a particular nominee may not be right, and that he may want to change his mind and give that person another portfolio. That it will not be proper after screening the person and for a particular ministerial position, he reassign the person, whether the person needs to come back to the Senate for another screening. Though I see that as politics anyway, but if I should follow that his trajectory argument, I will tell you categorically that the way and manner the Senate is going about the screening is just like a normal ritual as to what we used to see. We are not, Nigerians are not being, in fact, personally, are not comfortable with the manner the screening is going.
All right. Still talking about competence of the nominees and their positions. You did mention that, the president reserves the right to who he chooses to nominate and why he chooses to nominate them. While earlier in one of his former speeches that he had made, he said that his nomination lists are going to be more of technocrats than politicians. We have seen the opposite of that. I'm driving this conversation towards trust, how people are supposed to, continue to trust that this process will be very trustworthy. Yeah, I think trust is the word, because we have seen this situation of bow and go, and most of these nominations do not have portfolios attached to them. So while we're just seeing names and we're seeing more politicians than technocrats, do you see that these people are in tandem or square pegs being put in square holes to carry out the necessary responsibilities that would be expected in the future?
Honestly, it's neither here nor there. It is very difficult to ascertain whether they are competent, whether they are rampant or run who. Because in situations where Nigerians are not given the privilege to listen to them speak to issues. For instance, if you are bringing a nominee that will manage the security sector of the economy of the country, one would have expected that the person should give us a template, an understanding of how he is able to solve the issue of insecurity that is multifarious in almost every strata of the society.